There's no pot.
I think it is a problem.
So that way. Here. Yep. Yep. Yes. I was looking for you. Where were you guys? I looked up here. Yes. Wow.
Umbele. This come on my head. I think I can't agree. About that of the more one was one and two. But then I can't hear you more than I did say Baba. What are you saying for the later?
Come anywhere. The way I'm in the yeah, Isaac. Okay, then. But we are worrying this. Yeah, I know you push it. So they want it to be started. You and I'm the shadow. Yeah, true. You have to check out. Okay, that's speakers. Mr. Speaker. We said, if you can be there and film, it is not our wahala. The 10 people can be here and film. Me, the first day we set this thing, me, GBC. GH, like Metro, they know they will. We did here. We know now we did the thing. We give the list to Masha. The next day, I can somebody do it. I can't talk anything. I'm not here. The next day now, I not come early. I can't somebody do it. I not come tight.
Now, if you want to do this,
no, you didn't do. Masha said, we can fight. When we go to the
he will come spare.
He will come and
And yet, permanent.
I came and somebody has occupied my place. I never said anything. I just went back and stayed there. Hello. No, no. You can know. Camera. You can be a book. But you can be a electric. I'm not anything. You can yes. For what? Oh. That's all. How are you doing? Hey, no, you tell me what I did.
Don't put him in
What's the number 7? Now, other don't come here. Station of you know, you said to make a day. Where are the children? So, who are Hannah and Paul? Yes, sir. No, you think so. I'm on the space. Don't plan for anything. There's no space there. Forget about it. Can you understand me? Why there? I need to care about me. I need to care about me. The son always said that they really that they should say, I don't want to be back. They are going to leave. Maybe I won't see me in the shower. And I'm forcing me close in. When you minimate yourself, like Tirano go there, Tirano go there. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're watching GBC News. My name is Darrell Alantego. This is the special and live broadcast from Parliament, where today, in the history of Ghanaian democracy and Ghanaian politics, we have two majorities and a speaker, and a third arm, which is the Supreme Court, seeking somehow to direct affairs in Parliament. And people find or call that problematic. It is actually the tension we currently experiencing countrywide. I'm going to go on the phone to speak to Lawyer Akwasi Boamah to help us make sense of all of this and what possibly we can expect to be the way forward. Good morning, Lawyer Boamah, for joining us.
Good morning, Alan.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Boamah, for your time. Lawyer Boamah, first of all, you have been watching or listening, perhaps monitoring events since last Thursday to this morning. What so far has been your impressions?
Thank you very much, Alan. I think that we have an inherent situation of separation of powers and then check and balances within the three arms of government, as you may want to call it. And each one of them serves as check and balance on the other. And so we realize that none of these three arms has absolute power. It's cut across. The executive has to be checked by Parliament. Parliament has to also be checked by the judiciary. The judiciary has also to be checked one way or the other by Parliament. And so there is nothing like a particular arm of government having absolute power to operate. Even though the whole concept of separation of powers, as espoused by Montesquieu, is not really enshrined in our constitution. I stated that there's going to be separation of powers. But by virtue of the provisions and the various actors within these three arms, clearly make a case that we are under that sense of separation of powers. You know, what has happened is very simple. And the Constitution gives anyone, whether artificial or natural person, to go to court, at the Supreme Court, to seek for some form of declaration or relief when the person feels agree that a particular provision of the Constitution has been infringed upon, or certain acts or omissions of some people or somebody is not in line with the Constitution. And so Honorable Attorney Markin invoked the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court under Article 130, seeking for a declaration that the action by the Speaker of Parliament to declare for seat vacant is manifestly unconstitutional. But then the issue that has brought this whole misunderstanding and somewhat constitutional crisis is the decision of the Supreme Court to stay the orders or the decision of the Speaker of Parliament pending the determination of the matter before it. That is whether the Speaker acted constitutionally or otherwise. And I spoke to your colleague the other day. As a matter of fact, I did state that I do not know of any law, of any rules of court that gives power to the Supreme Court to stay an already made decision or an order of Parliament. So that is my point. And all that I know about stay of execution is the temporary suspension of a court judgment. And there is not a court judgment. And so this is where the confusion is coming from. And the general notion, which can be erroneous, that the Supreme Court has been biased over the period, has really actuated this whole confusion in Parliament.
Right.
And so now Parliament is also seeking to say that they are not subject to such orders of the Supreme Court. But that cannot be true. Because Article 1, we operate under the supremacy of the Constitution. We, unlike the British system or the UK system, we believe that the Constitution is the source of the powers of the various actors of the Constitution.
Yeah.
That is the executive, the legislature, and judiciary.
Right. Okay.
And then the same Constitution has given powers to the Supreme Court to declare actions and inactions of these various actors, whether constitutional or otherwise. And so now the difficulty I have had, which I still stand by, is that the manner at which the Supreme Court was able to issue that stay of execution concerning an order that didn't come from the court.
Right. Like Boamah, interesting you mentioned that, but does that then call into question a certain legality or jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to either direct or stay any operations or business of Parliament?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We, as a system, we Ghanaian judicial system, we practice this adversarial kind of system,
Sure.
whereby somebody must invoke or issue a writ of any jurisdiction of a court. And that is what has happened.
Right.
But what is causing this confusion is the manner at which Supreme Court was able to stay that decision of Parliament. And that is where the confusion is coming from. But as a matter of fact, anybody who is acting based on any provision of the Constitution and the person acts contrary to it, maybe the interpretation the person has professed to it is no erroneous, then the original jurisdiction can be invoked. So whatever Essamuah did is in order, because somebody must take that step.
Right.
And that step has been taken.
Right.
But the ramification of such an interlocutory order, such as staying the decision of a non-judicial body,
Right.
like Parliament, so to speak, is what has brought this confusion.
And will the Speaker be right, as some have called on him, to perhaps ignore that order or directive by the court and go ahead with his job as the head of or the leader of Parliament? And if he may be wrong, what could possibly be the repercussions if he sidesteps that order?
Now, the Constitution has made a provision concerning anybody attempting to subvert the Constitution.
Yeah.
And the Constitution even gives power to you and I to even deal with that person. And to the extent that we will be criminally absolved of any act towards making sure that the Constitution is sacrosanct and protected. And so, to my mind, I think cool head must prevail.
All right.
Even if the decision has been made erroneously, but the fact that the Supreme Court has that power in terms of constitutional interpretation and enforcement and everything there is to it, even if they have acted erroneously, even if that is the case, I think that they should just allow, for the time being, looking at the fact that we are far approaching election period, and the fact that this particular matter will be soon decided. Because now that it is decided, or it comes out that the act of the Speaker is unconstitutional, it amounts to the same thing. It means that these people must be reinstated or their seats have not been vacated. So I really think that it is about time we allow cool heads to prevail, and so that we won't create any constitutional crisis at this juncture of political life. We are approaching election time, and we need to exercise maximum restraint. The various actors must judge to find a lasting solution to avoid instances of constitutional crisis.
Let me take you back once more to the subject or the question of legality of the Supreme Court's order, especially where it sought to stay Parliament's proceeding on whatever order has proceeded from the Speaker. Now, if Parliament or the Speaker's office, for that matter, decides that, well, in view of the separation of powers, we are a law unto ourselves, and for that matter, we cannot take directives from the Supreme Court, how will that enhance or foster a certain cooperation between the both sides on the floor of the House?
That is why I did indicate earlier that we are at a crossroads.
Right.
Yes, a decision might have been done erroneously, of course. But the point is that we are likely to enter into a constitutional crisis.
Okay.
When a body is supposed to adhere to the orders of the Supreme Court decide not to do so. And so you can imagine the precedent that will be set. And so now it appears, as if the provisions of the Constitution are not being adhered to, are being breached liberally, because there is an order. So even and then the most unfortunate thing is that the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of such matters, and there is nowhere else anybody can go. So I really think that they should allow them,
right,
for the time being, to decide the substantive matter.
Right. For those of us who are students of precedent, will this, if the Speaker should obey and stay execution of his ruling since last Thursday, what will this particular directive from the Supreme Court become in terms of reference to precedents, so that in future a party or a speaker can refer to this particular directive and say, in view of that, I am either directing this way or that way? Will that become a bad precedent for us in future?
Alan, the matter is that whichever way you look at it, in as much as these rules or laws are not available to say in the orders of Parliament, the Supreme Court can equally decide to come up with decisions per interim. It means they're not based on any law.
Okay.
But it is not a good practice. So at the end of the day, the body who has been entrusted with such responsibility or jurisdiction is the Supreme Court.
Right.
And so even if the error has been made, to my mind, which I think so, I think it would take the Supreme Court to interpret it.
Yes.
Sometimes out of policy, public policy reason, they can offer an extremely benevolent interpretation to consider various factors prevailing in our country. And so when it comes to the issue of court can be a decision, whether you agree or not, as a matter of fact, I went to court yesterday, whether it was based on law or otherwise or whatever, the decision has been made. And the argument some people will make is that, yes, there are no laws. But then at the same time, can you also say that saying nothing says that they can, in terms of law, give them the power to stay an order of Parliament? They can equally also do that to create it to become a law. So more or less, they are the final arbiter of what it takes in terms of law.
Right.
So the precedent that will be set wouldn't be a good one. If the orders of the Supreme Court should be obeyed, then really we are drifting away from what our Constitution states in Article 1. That the Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
Yes.
And all other actors.
I guess this point has been arrived at as a direct result of a certain operation of parliamentary standing orders, as well as, and let me run that by you and see New Patriotic Party, who seem to suffer if they should go ahead, or who will suffer the loss of 3 seats, conducts himself or herself in a certain way automatically triggers forfeiture of their membership of the party. And that is what perhaps has led us to this juncture. Now, does automatic in this context mean wait for a directive from the party, or automatic means automatic and therefore requires no triggering, intentional or accidental?
Alan, all other laws like I said earlier,
Yeah.
are subject to the provisions of the Constitution.
Okay.
And in this particular juncture, the provision in question, the impeding provision now, is Article 97(1). G.
Yeah.
It is very clear that an MP who leaves his party, more like crossing carpet,
Yeah.
that is, the party that brought him to power, he leave that party to become an independent party or to cross carpet to another party. The essence of this particular provision is to ensure that the mandate that has been given by the electorate based on the statute of that political party is kept and is not traded by the whims and caprices of that individual MP.
Okay.
And I have maintained on your network that I do not subscribe to those who say that the futuristic plans or the future plans of MPs who have not relinquished their current mandate. But if you read all the commentary concerning that particular provision, it is geared towards avoiding one party state system.
Sure.
Whereby members of parliament in parliament can, from each party, can cross to each other, or they can easily be bought or manipulated. So when your mandate has been given to you, the mandate must be intact. You have no business whatsoever crossing it. The fact that I've said that 2024, I am going to contest with a different ticket. Is it the same as saying that today I have relinquished my money given to me in parliament? The emphasis here is on the current tenure, current tenure of that particular MP. It is not about any future tenure. So when the MP decides that I will not, as a matter of fact, be with the MPP coming this next election, something that is in the future cannot be related to the current now, as they say. So until the person says that, yes, I am reneging on that mandate in parliament and not do business with NDC. But here is the case. Clearly, the memorandum sent to parliament by Honorable Essamuah will clearly state that these MPs have not said that they are not doing business, they are relinquishing their mandate given to them on the ticket of the MP. They are not saying that. And so, as a matter of fact, if you have this interpretation, then obviously the application that has been done is erroneous, or interpretation.
Okay.
But the speaker is erroneous. And I am saying that the Constitution gives the power, the jurisdiction to only the High Court. The High Court to determine issues of the validity of an election of an MP, or whether or not an MP has vacated his or her seat.
Right.
And what it means is that the same MP ought to be given a fair hearing. And so it doesn't lie in the motion of any member of parliament or whatever to decide such a matter. And same does not lie within the particular political party's manifesto or what the constitution or whatever you may want to call it. If we are talking about the national constitution, and in the event that a seat has been declared to be vacant, in this case by a high court or by the death of an MP, the constitution makes it a case for the clerk of parliament to notify the electoral commission. So the issue of the speaker coming into this whole matter, for me, I do not share that view. The speaker does not wield that power. Neither can any subservient rule or law of a political party over the constitutional provision. So that is my view on this matter.
Now, does it therefore mean that perhaps the speaker can be accused of usurping the powers of the Supreme Court by declaring a seat vacant, or perhaps the High Court?
Yes, that is why Honorable Essamuah has gone to the Supreme Court, invoking the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to interpret and enforce the two Constitution. So if Article 2(1), any person deems an act of any person to be inconsistent with any provision of the Constitution, or even an omission, failure to act, the person can invoke the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Okay. And that is what Essamuah has.
Right.
The ramification of that particular action is this kind of how we are having now.
Right.
That is coming out as a result of the stay of execution, which is very novel, which is very new to some of us,
Right.
as to whether or not. But then, as I explained earlier, it is the Supreme Court. We say that the judge, the law lies in the bosom of the judge.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, what is even not law today, tomorrow can become law.
Sure.
But as to whether it's a good law, it's a matter for all of us to conclude.
Can we expect that to tend to the floor? We would have nothing.
Everyone has made a decision. An order has been made. There is no other body again to nullify this. It's the same Supreme Court. So if anybody is minded to challenge the decision, I think the right place is to go back to the Supreme Court. But for the time being, the third decision is enforceable and it must be enforced. Other than that, we are entering into a situation of a constitutional crisis. So cool heads must prevail on this matter. The practice must judge us. We have less than 2 months or so, I don't know whether more than 2 months, to go into an election. And now, all that we need, and even if these seats have been declared vacant, it's less than 3 months to election. There cannot be any by-election whatsoever. And so I think that they should just come together as two mature units or bodies, so that we respect them. That's why we have entrusted them with the power to make this on our behalf. We really want to see them fighting. We really want to see them in a very unpleasant situation in Parliament. So I'm just praying that all of them that will come together and find a solution to this. But I think that the order must be obeyed. Other than that, there will be a constitutional crisis. And the consequences we cannot bear.
Right. Can the Speaker, therefore, going forward, be expected to play the role of a father who called the both houses to order and say, well, I made that declaration or I put out that information on the basis of what is currently ongoing, I take back or I withdraw. And so let's go on as nothing has happened, and let you two parties go and work out how you're dealing with your members who are either defecting or seeking to rejoin.
Exactly what my point is. And you and I share the same sentiment, the same view. At this point, we need cool heads. We need mature minds. We need to be able to do this without any kind of confusion or fight between the parties. We need to be able to come to that kind of consensus building. And that has been the hallmark of the parliamentary business all this while.
Yeah.
So I think that we must just not enter into getting into an, very difficult positions that we cannot meet each other halfway or find a common ground. I really think that we don't need this time. We don't need this time of our political life.
Right. It's been wonderful speaking to you, Lawyer Akwasi Boamah. It's great speaking to you, Vale. The law can sometimes make nonsense of itself, as some would have us think. But yes, that is what it is. So we're grateful for your time, Lawyer Boamah, and we will call on you once again if the need arises. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. Nice talking to you too. Bye.
Fantastic speaking to you, Lawyer Boamah. So that was the voice of Lawyer Akwasi Boamah, who has helped us so far to understand some of the things currently ongoing, the position of the law, the interpretation of thereof, and who has the power to interpret as to whether or not the Supreme Court can be seen to stay in the operations of Parliament, and whether that is in contravention of what the meaning of the separation of powers are. Really, from last Thursday, we've had to deal with a lot of legal questions, and the legal back and forth alone is enough to tell us to tread cautiously as we seek to bring a certain finality to the current two majorities and the Speaker. The Speaker of Parliament, in concluding his presentation or addressing the House, remarked, though, that the House is duly and so informed that some call a certain passing of information, not a direct ruling or an order. Some has also said that in itself has incited a certain understanding within and among the NDC rank and file to think that they currently hold a certain majority. That has triggered a certain confusion. Some call it mischievous confusion. Well, whatever meaning you make of it, that is allowed within the meaning of the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. I'll take a break from here, and when I come back, I'll go back on the phone and get some more meaning to what we're doing currently. Thank you very much. Keep watching GBC News. My name is Darrell Alantego. Here I take a break. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're watching this special broadcast from the precinct of Parliament, where since last Thursday, a directive, some call it a ruling, some also call it an order from the Speaker of Parliament creating a certain near constitutional crisis, i.e. we had to go to Supreme Court for a certain interpretation. I have on the phone to also help us make meaning of all of this, order directive brouhaha. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Essamuah.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, what has been your observation since last Thursday when the news broke of a new majority in this country?
It's interesting and surprising, and even in another sense, it's alarming. It's interesting that that before the start of long ago, when we started the constitutional rule in 1990, and came back. And then we at this point, I think we want to create nation, we want to fight others, we want to use our state to be clear. When it comes to Parliament, what happens to Parliament is the domain of us. And not the Constitution. No institution or person interfere in the domain of Parliament. We should have stayed there. Because after the meeting by Speaker Parliament on Thursday,
Lawyer Essamuah, please help us. Lawyer Essamuah, if you can hear me, kindly reposition yourself. We're having a difficulty getting you speaking clearly to us so we can understand you. If you kindly indulge us. I also mentioned earlier, I lost sight of your office or your portfolio as a senior lawyer. I apologize for not addressing you accordingly.
Don't worry about it.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I hope I'm a bit clearer.
Yes, I can clearly hear you now.
Okay. As I said, when Speaker Parliament gave his ruling on Thursday, the members of Parliament who disagree with us had a remedy speaking in Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
They could have filed a motion challenging the ruling of the Speaker.
Okay.
Of course, they had a political difficulty because once the Speaker has ruled them as the minority, it meant that they were fighting that particular group to challenge the ruling of the Speaker from a position of weakness. But it is a weakness of only by one vote. Now, why am I advising that they ought to abuse them? On 6th January 2021, the NDC was not in the majority. Neither was the NPP in the majority.
Thank you.
And yet the NDC won the battle to secure the position of the Speaker of Parliament. So the people have governed their supporters and secured some votes from the other side to challenge successfully the ruling of the Speaker concerning the vacation of the seat of the 4 MPs who had changed their status since they entered Parliament in 2017. They didn't do that. They rather ran to the Supreme Court, which I have been a lawyer for a very long time, but 3 decades or more. The Supreme Court actually attempted the same day and get a ruling. In a moment after that. Now, once you do that, of course, risk getting the people to lose trust in it. Because we know that there are cases that have been pending in the Supreme Court which are equally important to the people of Ghana. They want the resolution of those cases. The Supreme Court has not heard those cases. And yet they are able to listen to Honorable Essamuah Market the same day and give him a written ruling. Those practices harm our democratic government. And that is what I'm extremely disturbed at. And I hope that the Speaker, who is holding the gavel now, will resolve this matter in a way that will promote our democracy, strengthen our institutions, and make us all feel safe in this republic.
All right. Lawyer Essamuah, a certain interesting development just coming through from information I'm receiving here has it that before I come to what the Speaker has asked his lawyers to do, let me quickly put this forward that information just reaching us, the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban, Right Honourable Speaker Bagbing, has requested the Ghana Armed Forces to come and conduct a bomb sweeping of the chamber for proceedings to start in the chamber. The House is currently sitting at the Grand Arena of the Accra International Conference Centre. This request has been necessitated by pronouncements of the Speaker during proceedings of Thursday, October 17, 2024, in response to a statement by the Minority Leader calling on the Speaker to declare seats of 4 members of Parliament vacant in line with Articles 97(1)(g) and (h) of the Constitution and the public commentaries that follows. Are we slowly walking ourselves into dangerous waters given the way we're dealing with these matters?
No, it's that it is the Speaker of Parliament who actually requested the presence of the soldiers to come and do what has been specified in what he did. Then I don't see anything wrong. Because as I said earlier on, what happens in Parliament is the domain of Parliament.
Okay.
And the domain of Parliament and the purpose of Parliament is led by the Speaker.
Okay, another one that's interesting to think, and whether that is even doable, that I am getting information that the Speaker has just asked his lawyers to test the decision of the Supreme Court directing Parliament to stay execution of the Speaker's orders. How feasible and how doable is this act?
No, any rule or order at any court in the country. If you disagree with it, you can apply for that rule or order to the state. And I think that is the fact that the Speaker has chosen to do. But if those silence and today, as you and I speak, it operates automatically as a state of the original of the Supreme Court. Please, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I get you.
Okay, so that is it.
Now, let's look at the kind of precedent this subject matter will leave with us going forward. Will that be one that would make it difficult in the future for a Speaker of Parliament to perhaps direct the House accordingly if a certain vacancy arises, and whether or not it'll be...
I don't think so. I think Mr. Bagbing is a man of strong character with a wonderful breadth of knowledge and experience in parliamentary practice. I don't think anybody can follow him for any future from carrying out their duties as Speaker of Parliament, members are elected by everybody in the country.
Wonderful. That's the voice of Lawyer Kakra Essamuah. Lawyer Essamuah, we would be very grateful if you'd come back to us if the need arises going forward as we monitor the situations in Parliament and also try to make a meaning of all of it. Really grateful speaking to you. Thank you so very much for availing yourself to help us understand all of this. Earlier on, as the members of Parliament arrive in Parliament to conduct the day's business or to commence the day's business, there was a certain interactions, recordings, and we have some of them to share with you, and that of the majority then until last Thursday leader, Honorable Afenyo Marking, and he mentioned his admiration for this man, Dr. Dominic Ayine, then a former Deputy Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. Let's take a listen to these recordings as they were carried out today.
That there was a pending suit at the Supreme Court, which pending suit was to seek certain interpretation of Article 97. In fact, Mr. Speaker himself acknowledged that on the floor of the House. As a result of his decision, the majority caucus expressed a disagreement with his decision and gave a clear indication that the matter will be pursued further at the Supreme Court. So on Friday, another process was filed by me, and the Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, determined the matter and ruled, among others, that one, Speaker's interpretation of the law was wrongful, and that the Supreme Court, his earlier decision to the effect that those 4 MPs, that is MP for Fomina, MP for Aguna West, MP for Subum, and Amenfi Central, had vacated their seat, was nullified. In essence, we are law-abiding. We have heard that our colleagues say they disagree with the Supreme Court. They'll be using unprintable words on the Supreme Court. On Sunday, the minority leader, my respected colleague, Dr. Forson, led the minority caucus in a press conference whereupon they told Ghanaians that today they will come and occupy our seats by their own proclamation. MPP, our tradition, is a law. Our forebearers always use
order. You must go to court to have the order set aside. In the case of Mr. Speaker, all right, I am reliably informed that his lawyers are currently trying to file processes to set aside the order of the Supreme Court. In that case, the status quo ante, in our view, should stay.
Okay, so the Speaker has communicated to you that...
No. There has been no official communication from Mr. Speaker's lawyers. But we, the majority caucus, the NDC majority caucus, have information to that effect.
And that is
of the Supreme Court. That order is a nullity. It has no constitutional basis because first, Mr. Speaker's ruling is not a quasi-judicial order, not a ruling of the Speaker of Parliament, which is merely a statement that guides Parliament in the conduct of his business. You cannot say it.
That the Supreme Court got it wrong.
The Supreme Court got it wrong, totally wrong. So the ruling of the Supreme Court has no legs to stand on. That's what I mean by a void order.
Thank you so very much for staying with us. You're watching GBC News. My name is Darrell Alantego. This is a special broadcast coming to you from the Houses of Parliament, albeit currently at the Accra International Conference at the Grand Arena, where Parliament is sitting this afternoon. In the last few days, coming from last Thursday, this country has had to deal with a certain constitutional conundrum, and we're yet to find a headway. Some believe cool heads prevailing will eventually land us on a soft landing where all of, the fears, the anxiety, the apprehensions, the tensions that some call it mischief will be put to the side and would forge ahead. I am going to go on the phone and invite on to help us understand, especially the question of the constitutionality on the back of the separation of powers of the orders. Lawyer Akwasi Boamah, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome.
Yeah,
Lawyer Boamah, you've been in this country since last Thursday. What's been your view so far, or your impression so far of what has transpired from last Thursday?
Well, for me, I believe that it's part of the growth of democracy with reference to what has happened in Parliament. And then, in the case of the Supreme Court, that is the judiciary, it's also part of the development of the law. Because you know that the law grows based on precedent. And when we talk about precedent, we are talking about judgments, orders, rulings, interpretations, all emanating from the superior court of judicature, at the apex of which is the Supreme Court. And so if in the constitutional development, we can have a situation whereby midway before the end of the parliamentary term, certain people could vacate their seat, triggering an action from the Speaker of Parliament, which is something that I believe is novel. Novel because we had a first Parliament, the first Republican Parliament. Nothing like that happened because under that constitution, anybody who wanted to change their mind on the floor of Parliament could do so at any time by just walking from where he was seated to the other end and then raising the hand to notify the Speaker that I have crossed packet. So please register me now as a member of this new party. Now that constitution died in 1966. The 1969 constitution frowned upon cross-carpeting, but its life was truncated in less than 3 years. The 1979 to the first, from 79 to 31 December 1981. By the grace of the Almighty God, this constitution has lasted for more than 30 years. As a result, we have had an opportunity of constitutional democracy growing to fruition. And once it grows, these are some of the things that we see. Now, in the case of the Supreme Court, whatever emanates from the House of Parliament will reverberate everywhere and end up at the Supreme Court to be settled. So what is happening there is not straight. The only reason why the two sides are battling it between themselves is simply because it's a novelty, and it's now that it's happening. If the 1960 Constitution, and for that matter 69 or 79, had not broken down unceremoniously, we believe this thing could have happened earlier, so that today it will be no news. So I am happy with the development. And then also, I'm happy with why the NDC is saying it is now the majority. It only shows that they are just humans working in a human institution. And what do I mean by that? Somebody yesterday being addressed as minority leader now wants to be addressed as a majority leader. Somebody being addressed as an ordinary MP now wants to be given a certain title. That shows their level of ego, and it shows they are only human. And one thing that you and I, as a result of the happenings, we have to know is that there is one person at the moment who can bring peace to the country before the Supreme Court gives its verdict. And that person is not the entity called NDC, but the person called Mr. Boamah. Why do I say that? It's very simple. The NDC caucus is saying that they would not respect what the Supreme Court has said. Indeed, I believe that in their heart, they know the Constitution having clothed the Supreme Court with law enforcement power. Which power Parliament hasn't got, the executive hasn't got. They know that well. But because of ego, when they make this statement, it does not end the matter, it only starts the matter. Because they say that we are going to respect what Mr. Boamah has said. If they give respect to Mr. Boamah, then we are still, and they are still operating within the law. Mr. Boamah would have to notify them that as part of our own standing orders and procedures in Parliament, I am your head, and I would want to notify you to give respect to whatever the Supreme Court has said. And I believe when he makes this order, they would abide by that. Then there will be peace, and then there will be sanity in the House, and then the original minority leader will be a minority leader. The existing majority leader will continue to be a majority leader because of the indirect respect given to the self-execution. I say indirect because they're directly a senior lawyer himself and a very experienced politician to just give them the appropriate order so that there will be sanity between now and when the Supreme Court will speak. Thank you.
Wouldn't the Speaker calling on them to change their position as it is, or as it were, amount to the Speaker then admitting inadvertently that perhaps he got it wrong?
No, I believe he understood you very well and clearly. The Speaker, as of now, should not be any person seen to be bending towards the side of the NDC. The moment the Speaker does that, definitely you would know that it would amount to a disrespect of the Supreme Court order. And that would also amount to contempt of court. As to whether it is possible to cite him for contempt, be a new development in our law, and I believe it's better. It's better than a coup d'etat, it's better than the gun, it's better than anything violent. At the end of the day, we are going to listen to 5 human beings make orders, and ultimately nobody will be able to flout it. What is happening is only egoistic. But back to your question, I believe that all of us, including senior citizens, behind the scenes, pastors, imams, whatever, should talk to just one person about Boamah to ask the NPP caucus to return to the House, and then the future would commend Mr. Boamah for having been able to stand in the middle as a disinterested
if you can hear me, bear with me a minute. Lawyer Frimpong,
whatever the Supreme Court
please
has
bear
said.
with me if you can hear me, Lawyer Frimpong. We're going to cross over to Parliament and join proceedings as it currently prevails. There seems to be a certain movement showing the entrance or the appearance of the Speaker. So let's quickly cross over to Parliament. Stay with us. You're watching GBC News. My name is Darrell Alantego. This is a special broadcast from Parliament.
Fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving. A country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we will take item 3 on the order paper. Honorable members, National Pledge. Pursuant to Order 69, we shall proceed to recite the National Pledge. I promise on my honor to be faithful and honor my motherland. I pledge myself with all my might. Thank you so much. Please resume your seats. Honorable members, I want to vary the order of business, and we will take next item 6. Item 6 on the order paper, which is correction of votes and proceedings and official reports. We shall commence with the correction of the votes and proceedings of the 3rd sitting dated Thursday, 17th October 2024. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 9. Yes, honorable member.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, item number 5 on page 9. Mr. Speaker, the statement made by the Honorable Minority, the Honorable Atufosin, Mr. Speaker, was in respect of the fact that 4 members of Parliament whose names have been listed have breached Article 97(1)(g) and (h). It was not a mere allegation, Mr. Speaker. So the appearance of who were alleged to have been in breach, I believe that it does not reflect the true statement made by the member, because it was based on the statement that the Speaker proceeded to make, to give information that you gave to the House. The Speaker further, in indicating the names of the honorable members so named, their currency, for instance, the first name, Peter Yaokwachi Aka, the NDC member for Amenfi Central, and now an independent candidate. Mr. Speaker, so the statement contains these clear facts, and therefore it's important that they reflect in the proceedings as captured for purposes of correction. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Member for Medina.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to draw your attention to the ending statement, which is majority caucus in staged a walkout instead of a majority caucus in inverted commas. So if the correction can be made to reflect what was there. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member Bolsa Saf. Is that okay? Yes, from the distance I can't see. Honorable Member for, you are all right? Thank you, thank you. Table office, kindly take note of the comments made by the members. Please cross-check from the records and capture what is on the record of the House. Please, page 10. Page 11. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the third sitting, dated Thursday, 17th October 2024, are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, I don't have a copy of any of the official reports. So we'll proceed now to item 5, formal communication by the Speaker. Honorable members, As you may recall, on Thursday, I informed the House, pursuant to Standing Order 18 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, on the occurrence of vacancies in the House in relation to 4 honorable members. Yesterday, I received a process from the Supreme Court, which is a ruling from the Supreme Court pursuant to an ex parte application directing Parliament to recognize and allow the 4 affected members of Parliament to duly represent their constituents and conduct full scope of duties of their offices as members of Parliament pending the final determination of a suit filed by Honorable Alexander Afenyo Markin. By Article 102 of the Constitution, 1992, and Order 64.1 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, I note that we currently have a quorum to transact business, but not to take decisions of the Constitution. It reads, a quorum of Parliament, apart from the person presiding, shall be 1/3 of all the members of Parliament. As presently constituted, the numbers definitely is far above 1/3 of the members of Parliament. But by Article 104, the numbers are not sufficient for us to take decisions. And I'll quote Article 104. Article 104.1 says, except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, matters in Parliament shall be determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting, with at least half of all the members of Parliament present. Honorable members, we don't have at least half of all the members of Parliament present. Consequently, in view of the current circumstances, the fact that there is a question on the composition and constitution of Parliament, and having regard to the public interest and the exigencies of the state of affairs in Parliament, I will proceed to, in accordance with Standing Orders 59, adjourn the House indefinitely. That is sine die. I want to quote Standing Orders 59.1. Suspend a meeting of the House indefinitely or for a period determined by the Speaker, having regard to the public interest and the exigencies of the state of affairs in the country. Honorable members, I have consulted leadership and I am exercising my discretion to decide, adjourned sine die.
Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badwin,
There's nobody there. Let's go. Anyway. No, man. I knew he was.
So, if you're watching us, this is the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation's coverage of the sitting of Parliament for today. A historic day in the life of the 8th Parliament, where both caucuses maintained their assertion that they were in the majority of the chamber. The Speaker of Parliament came in not long ago and in the course of the proceedings made the House know that in the light of the ongoing wranglings, the House would have to adjourn sine die, as in the House would have to adjourn until further notice. This is in the light of Article this is in line with Article 103 and 104 of the Constitution.
Welcome back once again. Thank you very much for staying with us. You're still watching GBC News. My name is Darrell Alantego. This is a special broadcast from the House of Parliament monitoring proceedings as they unfair. And currently, not too long ago, the Speaker of Parliament came into the chamber, called out for the both sides to join him so the business of the day could start. We monitored and realized there was only the one side of the house occupied, in which case the meaning will be that one house or one part of the house has walked out. Referring to Standing Order 59 of the House, the Speaker informed the House that although they form a quorum, they can't make or take any decisions. Going over from there, the Speaker then adjourned the House sine die, that is to say indefinitely or until further notice. What is the elections? We have been made aware that there is a need for certain airlines to be laid by the Supreme Court itself and until such a time when the matter is resolved and the House can reconvene. Let's go on the phone and speak to lawyer historian Anochi Frimpong and see if he could help us judge for ourselves where we currently are and its possible ramifications to us as a people. Thank you very much once again for joining us. Good afternoon, Dr. Anochi Frimpong. Sine die. What will that mean to parliamentary business?
Well, let me rather go back to remind the public that just before we left off, I assured sustain the peace of this country.
Right.
And he has indeed done that. And I think we would have to congratulate him. But my problem with him is that having made reference to the thing, having made reference to occurrences in the Supreme Court on Friday, which proceeded with the service processes on him just yesterday, emanating from the Supreme Court, to halt the House from whatever it intends doing. I believe that Mr. Fabian could have done the whole nation some good if he had specifically stated that the indefinite suspension of proceedings of Parliament emanates from the Supreme Court decision based on its order for stay of execution, so that at least it would manifestly show that he is giving respect to the third arm of government. But if you conclude not less than half
of the
House members of Parliament can take decisions affecting it, and based on that, to adjourn indefinitely, and then you also make reference to the public interest. What is that public interest? What is that public interest? I believe that Mr. Babi should have specifically made reference to the Supreme Court, because that is where the power is coming from. It is the Supreme Court that is protecting that public interest he refers to. So that is my only worry with him as a very seasoned lawyer, as a very respectable statesman, and above all, about the most experienced legislator we have in the country at the moment. That's my only worry with him. But going forward, I believe that based on what I said earlier, if the NDC says it doesn't give regard to what the Supreme Court says, continue to respect Mr. Babi. And I also know that Mr. Babi, in the public interest, would wait until the Supreme Court has spoken before he reconvenes Parliament. Please, this is what is going to happen between now and the next 2 or 3 weeks, when the Supreme Court would come out with its judgment. So I believe that there will be peace as usual.
Sure, that is pretty much what we all expect, that peace will prevail in this country. But let's look at some critical business of the House, which also stands adjourned indefinitely insofar as this directive by the Speaker is concerned. We have the Supreme Court itself expected to lay an ally as we go into elections 2024. Same applies to the Electoral Commission. And then the government will have to present a budget statement in a way we'll go into the first quarter of 2025. All these three currently left outstanding. How good does that look on us as a people?
It will not have much impact on us. It doesn't have any. The Supreme Court is working in the interest of the people.
Yes.
It is also very much cognizant of these developments you are mentioning.
Sure.
Various allies to be placed before Parliament, including matters relating to the Electoral Commission, even the dissolution of this very Parliament before the election, and then also the budget, which is very crucial. I think that the Supreme Court would give its verdict in less than 2 weeks, so that there will be business as usual for everybody in the country. If anything, I would have wished that the Honorable Haruna Idrisu had kept silent over these matters, completely silent, in order not to attract the attention of the Speaker to the actions of the 4 members of Parliament who had left their parties, respective parties, in order to contest for the next elections as independent candidates. If that had happened, in terms of politics, all that NDC would have done would be to lobby or to whip the 3 members from the NPP side, so that there would be no need for suspension, and then there would be no need going to the Supreme Court, and then no need for their business to be curtailed until further notice. And then these 3 people would almost expectedly, at all times, vote in support of the minority. Because once they have made the intention very clear to go independent, the intention implicitly means that they are going to split the vote in their various constituencies. And that will have a very deadly effect on the MPP. So I think they are the development of our law, and there is a growth of democracy in the country.
Do you get the impressions, Lawyer Frimpong, that perhaps the Supreme Court is going to eventually give us a verdict which would seek to reinstate?
Please, I think if the Supreme Court would want to make any verdict or judgment for or against the interest of the 4 members of Parliament. It will not make any effect, and so they should be allowed to continue their work until the end of the lifespan of Parliament, and I mean the 4 years. No. In fact, even if it is left with 1 day for Parliament to end its life, and it turns out that Article 97 has rightfully been invoked, the Supreme Court will give effect to that. All said and done, I wouldn't want to say that whatever Aben Baben is saying based on the fact that he knows the law very well as a lawyer, and then too, he has rightfully explained it to everybody, and so the Supreme Court is going to be on his side. So, just as I'm not saying that the Supreme Court is going to rule otherwise. What is important is that the Supreme Court is the ultimate arbiter in all these matters. And whatever the Supreme Court says is going to bind the affairs of the Supreme Court itself, and then other courts below the Supreme Court, and other institutions, in particular the House of Parliament. So it is going to come out with a very detail for today, but for years to come. So let us wait patiently and let us receive it in good faith, because the very Supreme Court that some years ago in the so-called pink sheet case against Boamah and Akufo-Addo, at a few years' time, the same decision was made against his own party, the NDC, and they also started crying, and then the NPP also started laughing. So it is, every judgment is an act. It's going to fall on you today. It's painful, but it won't change. Next time, you'll be on one hand laughing, and it will fall on your adversary.
Right.
So let us just wait to accept whatever the Supreme Court comes out with, and never to give it a party color. No, never.
Finally,
for the development of this country.
Thank you. Finally, before you go, does that settle it? Is it about time we all go back to our business and leave the rest with the Supreme Court and Parliament to sort themselves out?
It's as simple as that. So, you see, the past few days, everybody was watching the Parliament, the House of Parliament. Today, Parliament has folded up indefinitely. So we are now going to watch the judiciary, which is very exciting, which is very interesting. So we should wait patiently. We should wait patiently. And I believe that they will give a decision that, as I'm saying, will help build constitutional development now and tomorrow.
Right.
For the sake of Ghana, and not only Ghana, Africa. I cannot conclude without adding that when the Ghana Supreme Court made a statement to the effect that elections are won at the polling stations and not at the Electoral Commission headquarters. In no time, Kenya, that great country Kenya, also made use of that statement. And as a Ghanaian, I was so excited that people from other jurisdictions, Supreme Court from other common law jurisdictions, are relying on Ghanaian authorities. I believe we have to give respect to our court. Wait for it, and it is going to give a sustained decision that will assist the continent of Africa. We are the trailblazers.
Right. Thank you so very much, Lawyer Anochi Frimpong. It's always a pleasure to speak to you. Your depth of understanding and presentation is one that always mesmerizes. Thank you so very much, Lawyer Anochi Frimpong. Yes.
I'm humble.
You heard Lawyer Anochi Frimpong there. That's it. This is where it all ends. Not too long ago, all eyes were on Parliament, and there seemed to be a certain shift from Parliament's conducting of itself not too long ago, and now all focus and eyes shifts to the Supreme Court while we all await a decision, a substantive decision in the way we should go. This is where Lawyer Anochi Frimpong believes the matter is to be left to rest. Let's all go back to our work and work for God and country. Don't forget, to always remind yourself, to pledge yourself in all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana, so God will help you and I. Thank you very much. My name is Darrell Alantego. It's been a pleasure being with you for the past couple of hours, monitoring Parliament as it is. Our special thanks also goes to our parliamentary correspondents, Augustus Akwe and Rachel Kwote, who's been phenomenal in their presentations from Parliament. Thank you very much.